Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is the Christmas season. We are here bearing gifts of our best bets for NFL Week 17 and some future bets as well. I am Steve. That is Seth. Without further ado, let's hop into it.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today.
All right, we say it every week, but man, oh man, the season is flying by. We've got 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left of the regular season. Model win so far 36-32 with 1-1 last week. We're rolling on here. Seth, how you feeling so far?
Feeling good, feeling good. A little less volume than I think we originally anticipated this season, but we're hanging on by the thread of our teeth, and yeah, so far so good. So chugging along. Happy to get to the end.
Okay. Like we mentioned, we're going to go over our best bets, ones that we are betting this week of our data-driven model. If you like what you're hearing, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. It helps us tremendously. And without further ado, let's hop into the first game we're betting on. We've got the Cardinals versus the Rams. You can see here we make the model or make the number at Cardinals +3, opening spread at 5.5, which giving us some edge for the Cardinals here. Now, Seth, I have my own view on this. I've actually gone a complete 360, or excuse me, a complete 180. I felt disgusted by this. I really bought into the narrative-based betting, and then I kind of took a step back. And I'm kind of getting on board with this. I got some logic behind why the numbers made me feel a little more comfortable. But what's kind of your take here? What's the model really picking up on the edge for the Cardinals, who just got eliminated by the Panthers in a kind of a bad loss to end their playoff hopes?
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. When I saw this get spit out after I ran the numbers, I was like, holy hell, this is disgusting. But you're exactly right. And as I've done the same, I've kind of come to a similar conclusion. When we look at the numbers, we have LA 13th passing offense, 15th rushing offense. Arizona is our number 12 passing offense and 8th rushing offense. But these two teams are more similar than I would have thought. When we look at the defensive side of the ball, Arizona 28th against the pass, 26th against the rush. But the Rams 27th against the pass, 20th against the rush. These aren't world beaters either. And when we go down the list of predictive statistics that our model uses and looks at and things that we know are important, defensive echo rate, LA, a little bit better than the Cardinals at 51% of their opponents getting to the 40 or better. Arizona, 56%. But on offense, LA, 50% of their drives getting to the 40 or better. Arizona, 53%. So I'm perplexed here. Why the number's so big. I'm with you. I only say that now. When I first saw that, I was like, this number can't get big enough. Now, there has been early buying, 5.5, now moved to 6. I think there was even a 6.5 this morning when I looked. So the market does disagree with us early here. This Arizona team didn't look that inspired in the game that they sent to overtime. Could have easily won, took a sack pretty much to end the game. I don't know. I will say I'm with you, though. I like it now, looking at the data a little bit more than when I saw it first get spit out.
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on here. And there's one thing about us, if you guys are new here, it is that we are transparent, right? These aren't tout picks. We're not, emotional based betting. We're giving this stuff that's all data driven. And we can be honest, like there are weeks we think that these bets are phenomenal. And there are weeks like this week, quite frankly, for me, where some of these things just stink to high hell. And if I take a step back though, you get caught up in the narrative based betting, right? You're going to say Cardinals are eliminated. The Rams can control their destiny. I mean, this is a team that started 1-4 and have gone 8-2 since. They're hot. They're on two different trajectories. I think there are two important things, though, that I do want to call to attention on caution for this bet. One is going to be James Conner. He has that knee injury, and that could potentially be season-ending. There's no official prognosis just yet from the Cardinals camp, but again, 2 games left. You're nothing to play for in terms of the playoffs. How much do you want to risk something that could be your potential future? So really look for DJ Dallas and Michael Carter to pick up that slack there. And then 2, you can have some. We are potentially missing 2 O-line starters, 2 tackles for the Cardinals as well, in Jonah Williams and Paris Johnson Jr., who was already injured last week, could potentially miss another one. So with all that being said, though, let's take a step back. Can the Cardinals play spoiler here, right? I mean, we've seen this time and time again. That's not a new narrative, right?
No.
Cardinals did beat the Rams 41-10 their week 2 matchups. And even though these teams are on different trajectories, Seth, you pointed out the stats there are pretty similar. I mean, shockingly similar in my mind, especially on offense. If you look at just in that 8-2 stretch for the Rams, where they've kind of gone on this tear. Stafford 7 in adjusted EPA per play. Murray's 14th. But you look at total offensive EPA per play in just that stretch, again, where the Rams have gone on that tear. Cardinals 12th, Rams 13th. Okay, so these two teams are not all that different, even though the win and loss columns kind of separate them too. And same thing for offensive success rate, et cetera, et cetera. So I do want to call attention to this. Again, it sucks from a narrative-based betting standpoint, but there is a lot here that makes me think 5.5 probably is too much. So again, make number 3. So we're getting a buyback. We'll see. Time will tell. We absolutely could be wrong, but this one I'm coming along to.
Yeah, and the injury aspect, like you've highlighted, is a big deal for this game, and no doubt could be, part of why we're seeing that early move in the Rams' direction. The other thing that I think shouldn't go unlooked, and you highlighted, this is a divisional game. Divisional games play tighter, they play differently, and that's what this is. So I think you're getting a little bit of value there, especially as this number gets bigger and bigger. And again, is that an injury aspect? Time will tell, especially as we get more information coming through. And I think this is a Saturday game. So
yeah,
time,
you're absolutely correct.
Rest is obviously a little bit less, which sucks for us in this case.
Yeah, and I do want to call out a comment here. Shout out Shoot and Paula. I know you've been one of the ones watch us every week. Good to see you again. How much is the team not having to play for affect the spread of recovers from what you've seen? And again, I'm going to take this just from an anecdotal standpoint. I haven't really looked at the market dynamics, but I can tell you for a lot of things, I think we as casual fans or people who watch this tend to overblow this, right? Because there's so many different factors. And I think it's easy to say, oh, well, they're not playing for the playoffs, so they have nothing to play for. They're going to rest their starters, or if their starters do play, they're going to play half-ass. And I full-heartedly disagree. I mean, you got dudes who are playing for contracts, dudes who are playing for their careers, playing for their livelihood, coaches who are coaching for their livelihoods. And again, good old-fashioned hate, right? I mean, we saw this last year when we were on the Eagles in that historic collapse at the end of the regular season where they couldn't cover nor beat the Giants, who were bottom feeders again last year. So I don't necessarily buy into that unless you have news confirming that your entire starting offense or defense is being rested, blah, blah, blah. That's a completely different story. But if you have no news or information suggesting such, I wouldn't overlook into it. I do think it's something to keep on the radar and monitor the starter status, but I wouldn't overlook to it. Seth, do you agree, disagree?
Couldn't agree more. The only time I can actually measure this is week 18. And in fact, to the point of week 18, we leave out of any of our rolling averages data just because of this effect. Like you said, it's very different with quote unquote seasons over versus resting starters. You're getting a true backup at a number of positions. It's very different than this narrative based, nothing to play for. There's something to play for. These guys are getting $500,000 game checks. They want another season of football. They want another season of life. If you just shit the bed in week 17, I mean, you saw what the Rams, the 49ers, how much that team reacted to their teammate quitting. This is their job. And you do your job until you're not doing it anymore. So I couldn't agree more with what you said. And that narrative to me is something different than what you can see and quite frankly do see in week 18, which is strategic benching.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, so I think we're going to move on to the next matchup. Now, this one, we don't have an official model play on, but there is a model lean. For those of you who are new, our bets are at a 4% edge or better that we give out to our subscribers. We do that just because we need to guarantee as best we can, or I should say, we should give our subscribers the best chance they can to win. There are no guarantees in betting. So it doesn't meet our criteria, but value is value, edge is edge. And let's talk about the Denver Broncos versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, so we make this number of Bengals -5. The spread open up at -3. You can see there at a 1.4% edge. This is interesting, right? Because you've got two teams here, and let's be honest, the Bengals are not one we thought we'd even be talking about a potential for a playoff spot after their horrible start to the season. Injuries had a little bit of effect on that as well. And then the Broncos as well, they've got a chance here. Essentially, if they win, they're in. They do have a chance in week 10 if they lose. But the Bengals, if they lose another game, their hopes are officially dead. I think NFL.com gives them a 7% chance to make the playoffs going into this week. So they've got to win, and they have got to get some help elsewhere. So, Seth, The world is all over Bo Nix's jock. Offensive rookie of the year comparisons. The offense is so great. The defense can't be stopped. Why, oh, why are we giving the Bengals any sort of hope here? What is the model sort of picking up?
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix has definitely overachieved this season, so we got to give him his flowers there. But this is going to be a very different offense than most of the games they've played. Now, I understand Denver's coming in number 1 overall pass defense, number 3 against the rush. Cincinnati sixth best passing offense, 16th best rushing attack. And then Cincinnati, they're struggling on defense. We've known that all season. Cincinnati 19th against the pass, 30th against the rush. But I have a really interesting stat for you. When our last 10 game EPA quarterback statistic, Bo Nix, he's adding an average of 3 points per game. That's very good. Again, probably will win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Well, this is about to be a different stratosphere with Joe Burrow. This is what the elite quarterback looks like. Burrow is adding 9 points. So 3 times as many points per game as Bo Nix. And this game, when you break it down, is really going to be who's going to win. This really efficient offense for Cincinnati going up against what is supposed to be a really good defense with Denver. But quite frankly, I call a lot of the offenses they've played into question. When they have played those elite offenses, we've seen Denver struggle. And then the other question is Cincinnati's defense good enough to hold, what I would call an average offense here for Denver and Bo Nix? Like, this game isn't a quote unquote slam dunk, but I can definitely see a game state in which Cincinnati can pull away because they're just so much more potent offensively than we've seen. And this defense that has this, brand of being good defense really has just played bad offenses, and that leads to some of their successful numbers. So I like Cincinnati in this spot. Like we said, the model shows a little bit of value. This is my off the numbers. I'm going all in. I think the narrative piece of it too is Cincinnati needs help, but this is the one game where them beating Denver helps them. Like they kind of control their destiny with this win. So I mean, they need to win out, don't get me wrong, but this is one of the most important ones because a Denver loss automatically helps them. So I think it checks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, 100%. And to your point about the Broncos defense, right? So if you all, obviously we use advanced predictive metrics here, if this is not kind of your flavor, let me take a step back here. To reiterate Seth's point, when the Broncos have gone up against better offenses, we've seen this team get exploited for points. They gave up 34 against the Chargers last week. They gave up 32 against the Browns, 41 against the Ravens. So this isn't unheard of that teams can put up points. And oh, by the way, from an efficiency standpoint, the Bengals do have a better offense than both the Chargers and the Browns do. So there's absolutely a game script here. And listen, I'm not trying to take any love away from Bo Nix. I think what he's been doing is wonderful. But if you look at it, and Seth, you highlighted this, if you look at Bo Nix's efficiency on offense, shout out NFLEO and some other folks. They have an EPA and a completion percentage over expected kind of composite score. So kind of taking how efficient are they, how accurate are they, against what you expect to be. Bo Nix ranks 23rd. Joe Burrow is 4th. Okay. Again, there are levels to this, and we've seen Joe Burrow play well all season long for the most part, despite, the Bengals losing. But I think they've sort of figured this out. Now, I will say on the opposite end, let me play a little bit of devil's advocate to your point, Seth, about the Broncos going up against poor offenses. The Bengals have won 3 in a row, but, let's kind of be honest. Those 3 wins were over the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Browns. I think the Broncos are in a different league than those teams here. So time will tell on what actually happens. But to your point, I think the pathway to success is absolutely there. One thing I do want to highlight as well, the Bengals' weakness is on defense, like you highlighted, but especially against the run. Keep a close eye. Broncos running back Jaleel McLaughlin injured his quad. Kept him out of that Chargers game. Could potentially be out for this game too. We haven't heard updated word. I would keep a close eye on that if you're looking to back the Broncos here. If they don't have them, I don't know if the Broncos have what it takes to really exploit this Bengals run D, and this could lead to a Bengals cover, if not an outright win. So
or is that how Nix is going to have success? Right, it's on the ground. Him with a lot of design rushes, but I mean these offenses are just in 2 different stratospheres. Offensive echo rate, so quality drives. How many of your drives are getting to the 40 or better? Cincinnati 56%, Denver 45%. So I just think Cincinnati is going to have a lot more opportunity just to score here. When you're giving me a field goal, now I have a ton of push probability here, but in that off chance where instead of kicking a field goal, we end up getting 7. I think there's value here.
Yeah, no, agreed. I'm excited to see it. All right, so moving on to next game, we do again have official action on, and another one that stinks to high heavens. It scares the shit out of me. Let's talk about it. The Indianapolis Colts versus the New York Giants. You can see here we make the number +6 spread open up at +7.5, and we gave out an 8.5. Now this assumes that we have Drew Lock starting here, which I believe we are leaning towards that, but we're waiting for official word. Seth, let me just get out the way now, right? Okay. The people I'm sure are watching this and they want to know, listen, the Giants are in last place. They're in first place, get the number 1 pick overall, and they're only 1 game above, i.e. worse than the Patriots, right? The Giants, we've seen them kind of get torched all season long. They've got nothing to play for whatsoever except for next year. Why, oh, why would anyone ever try to put money on a Giants covering the spread? Can you talk the people off the ledge here? What is the model picking up?
I'm not going to be able to talk you off the ledge. This is the grossest bet we've made all season. It feels uncomfortable. I will say, looking at the stats, similar to the Cardinals, I'm a lot more comfortable now. You can kind of understand it. And really where it comes down to is the Colts aren't really all that great either. Defensive echo rate, Indianapolis, 48% of their opponents' drives. New York Giants, 47%. They're almost identical there. Offensive side of the ball, echo rate, when we're looking at quality drives, New York Giants, 42% of their drives are getting to the 40 or better. Indy, 45%. And quite frankly, when we look at these passing offenses, Indy, 26th, Giants, 31st. It's really the rushing game that's a little bit differentiated. Giants 20th, Indianapolis 17. So I think for me, Indianapolis definitely has the edge on the defensive side of the ball. The numbers bear that out, no doubt about it. When we look at quarterback play, Locke, -3.4 points added per game, but Richardson, -1.2 points added per game. So look, I'm not saying the Giants are going to win. I don't necessarily think that that's possible. It's probably not something they're trying to do. But 8.5 for a team that, quite frankly, isn't all that great. We saw it last week. We were on the Colts against Tennessee, another bottom feeder team. What do you know? They ended up losing by 8, and they were up by like 20 in that game at points. Rudolph is a bad quarterback. He's no worse than Drew Lock, in my opinion. I think it's more of just playing the number. If I can encompass this, I don't know if there's any Bet the Process listeners out there, but their theme song, like instead of assumed teams are tanking, we're look at the Massey Peabody rankings. Like this to me is the week where we're doing a lot of that, right? Where we're quantifying the edge, we're making the number, and it's like, yeah, when you're looking at a lot of this stuff, it feels gross and it's very emotionally intuitive, but 8.5, basically 2 possessions in an NFL game for a team that is a below average team for the Colts, in my opinion, is a good bet.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. And for those who didn't watch us last week, we said the same thing, just like Seth mentioned. We were on the Colts against the Titans, and we said, hey, these are just which team's going to suck less, right? These are 2 bad teams. Yeah. And quite frankly, you saw both teams suck at parts of those games. Anthony Richardson really isn't the quarterback to take advantage of a poor pass defense. And that was kind of the narrative we were going into last week about having some concern there. I think he went 7 for 11 for 100 and something yards there. It was really Jonathan Taylor on the ground. And to be fair, Anthony Richardson rushing as well. It's what carved up the Titans D. But you look at it this way, the Titans put up 30 on the Colts, right? So kind of flip it around, right? The Titans offense put up 30 on the Colts, and the Giants are effectively the same efficiency on offense as the Titans are. Now, again, want to make sure we do our due diligence here. Most of that for the Giants is being driven by their running game, and Tyrone Tracy has been one of the few bright spots for this Giants team outside of Malik Neighbors. Need to keep a close eye on them. He did re-aggravate that ankle injury last week. Willie stood up for the Giants again. Again, not playing for any playoff spot. playing technically for the number 1 spot, and he has an injury concern here. He may be the future. Time will tell him what Daboll wants to do with that. So I keep a close eye on that. But again, 8.5 in an NFL game. That's just a lot of points, especially for two teams who are in the same stratosphere. And I want to call attention to something from all the people who are saying the Giants are absolutely trash. You are correct. I'm not defending the Giants here whatsoever. But let's also not pretend that we haven't seen, quote unquote, bad teams hold their own surprisingly. Panthers and the Raiders were a 1-score loss, less than a field goal loss to the Chiefs, right? The Jets lost by 3 to the Bills. Hell, the Texans beat the Bills by 3 earlier this year. And the first time my beloved Bears played the Lions, they lost by 3. And quite frankly, that was poor mismanagement of the clock. They should have at least sent that game to overtime. So just as much as we've seen these kind of blowouts from the likes of the Lions and the Bills and these juggernaut teams where, of course they're going to win by more than 2 scores, we do routinely see these quote unquote shitty teams compete week in and week out because anything can happen on any given Sunday.
Well, and you have the backup aspect at quarterback for the Giants. Who is their quarterback? Drew Lock is playing for the next contract here. So he has more to gain than anybody in having a good game, having a lot of these guys, right? Who knows if Daboll is going to get fired, what this roster is going to be in the coming seasons. Like, these are the games where you have game tape that shows that you're not quitting, you're not, stopping in these situations. And again, this is the game where you might have success. Colts are not that good. This is the time. Put good tape on there. So 8.5. I don't know that I'd go as far as to say I love it now, but I hate it a lot less.
Yeah. No, listen, again, we're all about transparency here. Let me be absolutely clear. I am scared shitless. I have no more shit left to give.
Yeah.
Butthole clench this entire game, but I do think it's the right bet. So,
I agree.
Okay. All right. We're moving on. If you guys like what you're hearing, if you like kind of how we break these things down, if you want matchups that we aren't talking about, please give us a like, a subscribe, drop us a comment, either in the live chat or when you watch and we post this as a video. We read every single comment. Let us know. Your feedback helps us to continue doing this week in and week out, despite how gross it may be. Speaking of gross, let's talk about another matchup here. Listen, this may be Christmas time, but it's a Halloween theme because once again, I am scared here. Let's talk about it. The Titans versus the Jaguars. All right. We make this number Jaguars -3. This opened up at a -1. You can see their 8% edge from our quantifying, which makes this a bet for us. We officially gave out a Jags -1.5. Seth, again, we just talked about this in Colts versus Giants. 2 shitty teams, 2 bad teams here. What on earth was the model thinking about taking a favorite in a matchup where both teams are just absolutely bad here?
Yeah, and you're getting 2 of the worst quarterbacks that are in the league, which is even grosser. I can give you a lot of the stats and happy to do that. I mean, these are very similar teams. Offensive tackle rate, Jags 36% of their drives are getting to the 40 or better, and Tennessee 39% of their drives on offense are getting to the 40 or better. Now, defensively, Jacksonville is the worst in the league from an echo rate standpoint. Almost 60% of their opponents' drives get to the 40 or better. Tennessee 50%. So, it's not Tennessee is not a very good team either this year. Ultimately, what it's going to come down to, in my mind here, is Jacksonville's running game. This is how they're going to, in my mind, have success. Jacksonville 14th against the rush. Tennessee 22. Now, how is Tennessee going to have success? Passing the ball. Tennessee 27th, but Jags are the 32nd ranked pass defensive team. So it's going to come down to this. Can the Jags run the ball better than Tennessee can throw the ball? That's the game to me. I think both of these teams are going to struggle defensively. I think there's going to be points in this game. And quite frankly, you're just having, a good old fashioned Duval. I believe this is in Duval. So this is like that classic, 90 degrees somehow in Jacksonville game. Tennessee Jacksonville's played spoiler in this spot many, many times. Now, in this case, Tennessee doesn't have a lot to play for either. So it's, they're not going to upset them or, spoil their playoff chances. But we've seen teams struggle in Duval. This is also when we've seen the Jacksonville Jaguars play at their best. We were on them earlier in the season when Mac Jones came in, and they had a lot of success against a good Minnesota team. So I think it's going to be a lot of the game script here. But I think running the ball is how they're going to have to do this. And quite frankly, I think that's where our model is showing the value.
Yeah. Can I just say real quick side note? To your point about the Jacksonville Stadium, the heat, that is no joke. I went to a bachelor party. Our good buddy is from Duval, and we got pretty drunk on Saturday night, and we thought it'd be a good idea to go to a Jags game Sunday morning. And when I say hell on earth, when I say fighting for my life, that was probably the most miserable 3.5 hour experience because of that Jacksonville heat. That thing is real. That stadium, that bowl, whatever they got going on there, it's real there. So I want to point something out here. I didn't mention this at the start here, but this assumes that Mason Rudolph is starting for the Titans. And Seth, I want to highlight something, because this, to me, I want to make sure I'm understanding this right, because this actually seems kind of backwards to me. Because are we saying that if Will Levis starts, this is a no bet? Because in my mind, besides the legendary memes, Will Levis offers nothing more to this offense. So what's the number difference there for the folks?
I haven't run the numbers. I'm sure they're quite similar, to be honest with you. It's just more of that's how we ran it, and that's the assumption we're making when we give that out. Based off of when we played it last week, it was almost identical numbers with Will Levis or Rudolph. And to your point, we've seen them equally struggle in this offense. Yes. So I make it clear. It's more of this is the assumption of the forecast. We'll need to rerun the forecast to make sure it's still a bet. Now, we did see the market react to the news of Rudolph.
Yeah.
Going from Levis to Rudolph, actually, the market was buying that news, and they got some price action there for Tennessee. We ended up seeing a little bit of buyback before that game, and that game ended up closing at 4. So I'm with you. I think that you're getting pretty similar quarterback play, if not a downgrade with Levis, but I think they're both pretty bad quarterbacks.
Yeah, 100%. And just to clean some stuff up to that point, Brian Callahan did come out and say about an hour before we started recording that Mason is going to get the start this week. So we do have that, at least he plans to, unless something crazy happens. We will see Mason Rudolph. But to your point here, again, we talk about some of these other metrics that if you're watching for the first time, maybe you haven't heard us talk about expected points added or, completion percentage over expected, algo rates, things like that. But even if you take a step back, it's kind of shockingly similar. So Levis has played 11 games this year, Rudolph 6, 63.7 completion percentage for both. The yards are slightly higher for Levis because he's played more games. Yards per catch, 6.7 yards for both. Interception or touchdown to interception ratio, both 1-to-1. Levis 12-12, Rudolph 8-8. So to your point, Steph, like these quarterbacks are quite frankly a spitting image of each other. I get why you switch quarterbacks for Callahan and the Titans. You need some change. Things clearly aren't going the way you want them to. Maybe give Levis some time to develop on the sideline. But I'm with you. I feel a lot more comfortable hearing you say that, because to me, if it's a number with Rudolph, it's a bet with Rudolph taking the Jags. I got to imagine it's damn sure a bet with Levis. So we'll see.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, the other thing to point out here too is like we're not getting an all-star on the Jacksonville side at quarterback, right? We're not getting Trevor Lawrence. We're getting Mac Jones, and Mac Jones is the 32nd quarterback in our database out of 32 teams. He's the exact worst, and we've seen him make poor decisions. So again, I think that the only way we're covering this is a ground and pound attack, and they're going to exploit the kind of Tennessee Titans struggle on the defensive side of the ball, specifically against the rush. I think if they let Mac or try to have Mac throw all over the fields, we're going to just see some of maybe the worst quarterback play on both sides of the ball we've seen all season. So it's a cautionary one. I couldn't agree more. This is with the Nightmare Before Christmas. Like this is, this is a gross card. This is a gross card.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But we've said this in the past. We've said it a lot last season, some this season. You find value in gross spots, right? Because it's where no one wants to look, or it's where your brain doesn't even let you look. You go, well, of course there's no value. Of course there's no value betting on the Giants 8.5. Of course there's no value betting the Jags. And again, maybe there isn't, but you got to look. And in this case, we're finding value there.
Yeah, that's really well said. I can tell you on my own, this is a game I would never in a million years have touched. We have diehard Jacksonville fans. We have diehard Giants fans. I guarantee you they're not touching this game either. So that's extremely well said, man.
Yeah.
All right.
We're the real fans.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, so all to a game that on paper is far less gross, but when you take a look, maybe may still be kind of gross here. Let's move over to the last game of the slate that we are betting on here. We are looking at the Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers here. You can see our model makes it 49ers plus two. Spread open up at 3.5. We gave out 49ers plus four. Now, I want us to start real quick. We talk about Dan Campbell and the Lions. This is a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. The Lions have 21 players on injured reserve this year, and that doesn't include David Montgomery because he's technically not on IR. The
Wow.
Lions are holding him off. We have to get in a third opinion here. And then on San Francisco side, we have three new O linemen: Jalen Moore, all-world tackle Trent Williams, and their guard Aaron Banks are going to be out for this game. On a defensive side, Dre Greenlaw also is out. And of course, they have no running back. I actually get out of here soon because I'm going for the 49ers tryouts because they've just been going through every single running back that's suited up for them. So you look at this paper, 49ers have been eliminated from playoff contention, which I don't think anyone saw when this year first started. So again, kind of matchup here of what does this team have to play for? Now, Dan Campbell has come out and said that no matter what happens this week, they are trying to win this game, and I'll be damned if I don't believe him. I believe Dan Campbell is trying to win every down, every game. We've seen how ultra aggressive he's been on fourth down. I have no reason to believe he's lying, but just for the people out there, if you're not familiar with the playoff picture, essentially the Lions they're in first, but they are looking at if the Packers the Vikings beat the Packers, then all of a sudden there could be a showdown here for what those spots look like. And if the things kind of fall out here, it may be a meaningless game whatsoever for the Lions seeding. Dan Campbell says it doesn't matter what happens throughout the week. We don't care if we're clinched number one seed or not. We're playing to win there. So, Seth, with all that being said, again, narrative-based betting, Lions are going to play. Dan Campbell's going to have them going. 49ers have Jack to play for, and they're hurt. Why, oh, why would you ever take the 49ers plus money here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or as dogs.
Yeah, it's dogs. Yeah. I think it's just that you're getting some value there. This is a team that has underperformed, no doubt about it. And there aren't the kind of offensive juggernauts we've seen in the years past. But quite frankly, there's a lot of we've seen it firsthand. There's so much Detroit hype. But when we're looking at a spread market, we saw this. We were on Colts, I believe it was week 11, and we had Colts plus 8, and the Detroit Lions covered, end up winning 24-6, and we just got inundated with "see, told you so." This team hasn't covered since they didn't cover for 3 weeks in a row, and then they went ahead and beat up on the Bears, which is a team in kind of in downfall. So when we're talking about a spread market, it's a bit of a different thing, and it wouldn't surprise me if Detroit wins this game by 3. Now, we're going to need a lot of things to go our way. 49ers are much more average than they have been in the past years. 11th passing offense, 13th rushing offense. Detroit, 4th best passing offense, 8th best rushing offense. Now, you highlighted a lot of pieces that they have kind of gone through, and Lions have kind of been next man up over and over. And then on the other side of the ball, we're looking at the 49ers 16th against the pass, 28th against the rush. And that's where I'm a little concerned here. And I, have highlighted and circled in red here. Detroit is no doubt in my mind going to be trying to go through the 49ers pass defense. This is going to be what we would call a run funnel attack. And we have seen in our database when these types of matchups happen, the Lions go after them, blood in the water. So I think you're going to see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. You're going to see a lot of this run attack, maybe some screen game. But I think this is going to be their game plan. When you have that type of game plan, something that's good for us, covering our 4-point spread, less clock, should be higher variance outcomes with lower scores. This is a game state where we can win by that field goal or push it to 4. So I think ultimately that's what it comes down to for us. Do I think San Francisco can win this game? Maybe, but we're going to have to see them play a very different game than what we've seen all season. I think 4 is just a little too rich.
Yeah. And this is one I was definitely doing mental gymnastics on because, again, the gross factor, right? The gross factor, no matter how many games, we bet, and we hundreds of games, per season, for me, I can't quite that initial oof. All right, kind of hold your nose. Here we go here. But
Yeah.
the one thing that's kind of giving me solace is we talk about the extensive injuries to the Detroit Lions, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think they could start an entire starting defense with a number of guys they've had go down to IR just on that side of the ball here. But if you look at the last month on the Lions defense, I don't want to kind of get into manipulating numbers and trying to create things out of thin air. But if you look at the Lions defense as a whole season and what they've done this last month, the defense has definitely taken a step back here. And actually, the 49ers over the last month have had a more efficient total defense. When you look at EPA per play at 0.068 points or EPA per play versus the Lions at 0.088. So, we look at this 49ers team that's in a free fall, and that's not up to the standards we've seen them in the last year. But the Lions sneakily are kind of taking a step back. And that's not even fair because they're massively injured.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fair to say they're taking a step back. I guess a better way to say is there is a potential to exploit a weakness here, right? For the 49ers. I think that has to be the game plan here. I don't think you want to get into a shootout with Jared Goff and the Lions, but you've definitely got to do your part offensively and take advantage of defense. That's a little suspect. All right. That is our those are our bets for this week. We've got one more. We'll kind of wrap up at the end. So we're going to hit zoom out real quick and talk about the NFL landscape and give you guys some of our best futures bets that we found value on. So if you like that, again, before we kind of hop into that, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. That helps us keep doing this week in and week out, no matter how gross the card may be or how good it may be. Again, there are weeks where we like, oh, we love this. And I will say to your point, Seb, more often than not, when we say we hate this bet, tends to be the weeks we win more. So, that goes to show you. But let's look at the landscape here. Again, wrapping up the regular season, getting ready to head into playoffs, trying to finalize seedings, trying to finalize who's going to make the playoffs. Seth, is there any team that really stands out to you, both as hey, this is a regular season team to watch, or this is a team that can go far into the playoffs?
Yeah, Green Bay is a team to me that is quite interesting and kind of feels a lot like last season, where I wouldn't call Green Bay under the radar this season because I think they were one of the teams that were hyped, but they have kind of just fallen into that background, but they're playing really well. We saw them have a huge night on Monday Night Football. And a team that I think offensively can definitely get it done. And if they can do some things defensively, this is a team that's intriguing to me. The Eagles, we see it once per season. I don't know what, there's something in the water with Washington specifically where they lose one of those games. You can damn near just bet Washington Commanders money line in both those games. You're going to win one. You're going to win one or the other. I don't know what it is. Obviously, divisional rivalry game, and we saw it. And this is a different Washington game or team rather than we've seen in the last couple of years. And then Buffalo, I definitely can't say they're under the radar, but they have some pretty big, convincing wins, and they just look like they're gaining as much momentum. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna regret it, but this seems like the weakest Kansas City team we've seen in a long time. So if you're the Bills fan, this seems like this has got to be the year you can attack, right?
Yeah. Listen, I'm thinking it. I would never say it out loud. To me, calling the Chiefs, the weakest team or down year or whatever, it feels like talking bad about the Illuminati. Do I believe in them? No. But when I'm going to say it out loud, no, probably not either. We got some pleas for help to from the comments for the Browns. Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson, DTR. It doesn't matter. That team doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And listen, Street Impala, this is coming from Bears fan. All right. That's no shots being taken. But what I want to talk about real quick is where can we find value? What bets can we make with edge here? And so I want to pull up the unabated futures sim screen. So here, let me get my everything set here. This is poor podcasting, but here we go. All right. So what we are looking at here is the unabated sim screen. So if you go to unabated.com, use code BTB, you get a free 5-day trial. And so what we do is we kind of take our own sort of mixture of power ratings and inputs to run simulations to find value on futures. That could be, as you can see here, to win the conference. That could be for Super Bowl. We've done some of this every year before the season starts to identify winners, potential for Super Bowl. So we had Eagles tickets and unfortunately Judge tickets, but there's a tried and true method there. All right, so Seth, we're running this here, and I think we're going to start off with the conference. Is there any team that sticks out to you as a value for potentially winning their conference? Any team you want to talk about here?
Yeah, well, and the one cool thing about the unabated tool is you can see where the value is highlighted for you in green. So you can see the unabated simulated column is what we make the number with the simulated simulations, and then the green is where there's alpha or potential value. That plus 400 if it's real over at DraftKings for Buffalo does seem like the last of the Mohicans. Like if you are want to be a Buffalo backer, this to me is a steal price. You can see we make the number plus 177. You can get a plus 400 potentially. I think that, like I was saying before, Buffalo, I mean, the AFC is a lot tougher. We know that, but this just seems like it's going to be the weakest we're going to see Mahomes. Now, the weakest we've seen Mahomes still could win 3 in a row. Like you were saying, like, I don't know if you can doubt it, but if you're high on Buffalo, these numbers are only going to go down, and you're only going to make, this is probably the last chance you're going to see at 400. Is it even real?
Well, let me tell you this. Yeah. So one of the things you do have to check here, sometimes these are stale lines. That Buffalo Bills plus 400 at DraftKings is not real. It's plus 500. It's plus 5. It's even better. If you want it, stop the press. Don't stop the stream. But you log on DraftKings right now, and you get that plus 500 for it's gone. Yeah, I'm with you, Seth.
Wow. And we called this out. I forget what week that was, but where are the Lions on here? We kind of called this what you'll call like a positive EV. Yeah, look, you can still basically parlay these together and get some good value. Each Detroit and Buffalo to win, AFC, NFC.
And I believe that was on FanDuel, right?
Yeah, FanDuel. I forget what the number was. But if you multiply, the probability of plus 196 and plus 177, which I can't exactly remember what it was at that time, but I remember it being kind of around there. There was like a 5% edge or something like that. So the edge is still there. I'm trying to go back to my notes to see if I could find it, but
yeah, and actually, I'm sorry. I want to make a clarification. I'll make an edit. I was wrong. I got super excited. I was on the Super Bowl screen, not the conference screen. I'm so sorry. The Bills for the conference, it actually is not a real number. It's plus 225. You can see here that with this, we make it plus 177. So still value. Still a better value. Yeah, exactly. Still value. Value is value. And then for the Lions on DraftKings, at least, they are actually plus 180. So that would not be value. We make that number plus 196. But this is a pretty cool tool that you can kind of go through and see, okay, hey, instead of just guessing on what the features are, which is going to be a low probability market to begin with, what big upside if you can get an edge there, you can kind of quantify those things.
Yeah. And the coolest thing about this tool, in my opinion, is so obviously we're super analytically driven. We have our own power ratings that we like to upload in here. But, we ran these using a composite rating from all of the top models in the world that are publicly available. And Sam Hoppen, he aggregates these and gives you a composite rating every week. So you can go there, grab all of these super, super intelligent models that are insanely data driven, and then you can upload them here. And so you're playing like 3D chess basically, right? And you're pricing these in a way that is very sharp. So, I love that about this tool. Same with the college version of this, college football. So if you guys aren't signed up, use code BTB, highly recommend it. We've gotten a ton of value. In fact, it looks like the only futures bet we're going to lose all season. Shout out. Hopefully Atlanta will lose one game. But if Atlanta loses one game, we had under 7.5 wins for Saints. That out of like the 12 futures we had, I think that's the only one that's going to lose. So, and we use these exact methods, so you can find a lot of value. I think there was some value there on Denver. Any thoughts on it? It's a long shot. You were talking about long shot odds. If I'm not mistaken, either Denver to win the Super Bowl or Denver to win the conference, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and we'll check these. Definitely some value.
Yeah.
So we make the number plus 2788 for Denver to win the conference. If we flip over to the Super Bowl, we can see here we make Denver plus 8520.
Yeah. So you're getting
Yeah,
fleeced
not
there. But
yeah,
Mark,
yeah, yeah.
but if you want to bet the conference,
Yeah, do you want to make
plus
the
is it plus 3,000?
yeah, let me make sure that that's right because that's DraftKings again, so that may be a little
Yeah.
outdated here. I'm on there right now. Conference winner, let's see. Denver Broncos plus 2,200. So at least on DraftKings,
Yeah.
they're kind of fleecing you there.
So probably not. Well, I'm like, what's the biggest number we see? Like, let's scroll through this. Like, if somebody's wanting the biggest DGen bet of their life.
Sure. For the unabated line or for the actual what we're seeing in the market?
Yeah.
Or,
Well,
or either.
those are going to be correlated for sure. So Tampa Bay plus 3,300, even at plus 2,500, there's some slight value. So if you want some long flyers, Pittsburgh plus 2,500 there at Bet 365, we think that's real.
Yeah.
Even at plus 1,800, Tampa Bay plus 2,500. I mean, these are long shots, but could happen.
Right. And that's interesting. We talk about the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers were kind of still in their hunt of trying to play for some pretty high seeding there. And we talk about this team that no one really gave a chance. They're hardest strength of schedule. They're gonna be doomed, blah, blah, blah. And they're looking pretty damn good and pretty comfy for a playoff picture standpoint. All right. So those are futures. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Seth.
I just one more. Can you go to the make playoff page? I saw a cliff jumper bet. I wanted to get your thoughts on. I believe it was Philadelphia to make the playoffs. Are they on there? No. Sorry. Go to Win Division. The Eagles on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. There it is. All right. We make this minus 41,000. You can get minus 20,000. This seems like this is double. We say it's double the probability. So 20K to win 100.
Value is value. Would you bet 20K the sun come up tomorrow? Value. Well, I mean, maybe as we get close to nuclear war, who knows? But yeah, you get the point I'm trying to make here. Yeah, we've seen these kind of wild bets, but yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
insanity.
I don't think I could do it.
No. Yeah. All right. So if you guys like that, let us know. Again, if there's some things you want to see, we'll be happy. If we get some feedback, we know there's an appetite for it. We'll be happy to make a quick little video, kind of run through what we're seeing on some of these futures, or again, leave us a comments and we'll kind of go through and answer your questions on if you've got some ideas on teams that you think there may be value on, you want to double check. All right. So with that being said, we're moving on to the next segment. We went over the model picks. We'll recap the model picks at the end. Right now, we're going to off the numbers. This is our own, off the model BTB staff picks. We have a competition to see who can handicap the best. No rules. You can have, your own picks, your own models. You can take the model and kind of go, step beyond that. Whatever you want to do. We can pull up the screen real quick. We can see the records here. A dead tie. Dead tie again at 7-6. And I want to say something real quick. This is my league, right? When it comes to betting, I get cute sometimes. I was tied for first place, and I thought, the Bears, they have first half struggles with Caleb Williams. I should have just taken a spread. I got cute with the under team total, and on the last drive, less than a minute left, the Bears cashed the over, and I lost, and I deserve all the hate and boos in the world. I know better than that, but we move on here. Now, Kevin's not here to defend himself, but you can see here his pick is Atlanta versus Washington, taking the over 47. I'm guessing what he's picking up is we talk about the Commanders and how efficient that offense has been, almost off the charts. And with Michael Penix Jr. starting for Atlanta, you got a boost in points there. Now, to be fair, he got a lot of help defensively, got a couple of defensive scores. So that scoreboard really wasn't as impressive as the game state actually was. I personally think Washington's defense is getting a little bit better, but I'm guessing that's where his logic was. Seth, I'll kick it to you. You got the Bengals -5. Kind of walk us through.
Yeah, so and that's a typo on my end. This is Bengals -3, which is the current spread here. So I'm just going market, just as similar like what we talked to in the when we broke this game down. I just think we're going to get a lot of offensive potency from Cincinnati, and I don't think Denver is going to be able to keep up, and I don't think their defense is going to be able to contain the Cincinnati team. But always, right, I got to start with my rule one, and my rule one is the model shows value, so that's where I started, and that's why I bet it. So give me Cincinnati -3. Also, we got to mention, Steve, there's a punishment to this bet.
Oh yes, yeah.
There's a punishment, and the loser of this competition has to sit in a Waffle House for 18 hours, and every waffle they eat gets them an hour less. So the goal is to sit in there for 1 hour and eat 17 waffles. I don't think that can be done, so it's going to be a pretty rough day for somebody. All right, let's hear what yours is.
Now, hold on. I will.
Okay.
What we did recently find out this weekend, Waffle House has touch tunes. I might just throw a concert. If it's me, I might just throw a concert for at least 7-8 hours just for the vibes and the vibes alone. But
I might get a room in there. I might stay for a couple days.
Exactly. You know, punishment or staycation. All right. So for me, I have the Raiders -1 over the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans been an absolute free fall. Hainer, Rattler, it doesn't matter. And here's my concern here. You know, we've talked about, you know, the speculation and narrative betting and how, you know, we don't believe in that. But let me give you this anyway. So what I'm concerned about for this is, one, the organizational collapse that is the New Orleans Saints. But two, when you have a game like Spencer Rattler had and you get blanked 34-0, that shakes a player's confidence. Now, I have no idea what's going to happen on, you know, this Sunday when Rattler gets back out there. I just know it's not going to be good. And you run a serious risk of having a quarterback with no confidence. It's a quarterback that's going to get blown out week in and week out. Antonio Pierce is not going to have that Raiders team's given up. They won this game. They were number 2. They were second overall in the draft order. They dropped to number 6 with a win. We've seen this before. I mean, we saw it to Carolina. Shout out Lovey to give the Bears number 1 pick when the Carolina won a game they had no business winning to end the season last year. So this is one of the ones where I think the Raiders are a team that is bad, but they're trying to win. They're actually trying to do something for the culture, and their coach won't let them not try, versus the Saints organization that is just completely disorganized and a quarterback who just can't tell up from down. So I'm taking the Raiders on a tight line and give me -1. All right.
Yeah.
So was there a shit talking rebuttal?
No, I agree with it. I think it's a good bet.
All right. So let's move on. Final segment. Let's just recap what the official plays are for this week. Seth, you want to kick us off here?
Yep. We are on Giants +8.5 -110, 49ers +4 -110, Jags -1.5 -104, Arizona Cardinals +5.5 -110, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers -8 -110. So a lot of value on the board. They're all pretty gross. The Buccaneers, we were on them a couple weeks ago in the same spot, and here we are again. Carolina is just eating us alive. They shit the bed every other week, but only the weeks we're not on them. We're betting against them rather.
Yeah. Do we need like a even week, odd week calculator to factor in and wish we're going to bet on Carolina or not? But no, we saw this. We saw them do this. It was last year or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, right before Baker got there. They had no business winning those games back when it was between Baker and Dalton, and they traded McCaffrey, and they were just winning games they had no business winning. So I don't know what it is about the Panthers, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little scared. Model record 36-32. This was at 62 per. Oh no, excuse me, a little bit under that. That's not 62, 50.
It's like 53, in like it's almost 50, almost
52.9
exactly.
Yep. So again, you know, we're treading there, staying above profit with the VIG. Of course, that's always the goal, to maintain profitability. All right, so that is our card for this week. We'll get some final thoughts here, but again, if you guys like this, please let us know. Comment, like, subscribe. Really appreciate you all hanging out with us. Seth, any parting words?
Nope. This is a gross week, and hang on tight. And other than that, have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you all in the new year.
Well said. All right. Till next time. Thank you all. Good. Good luck.